In a recent game against Atletico Madrid, Getafe had more ball possession, more accurate passes, and less fouls than the opposition. This is from a team that have the most fouls, the most yellow cards, and the 4th lowest possession in La Liga. Oh, and by the way, they lost that game 5-0. It does seem that Diego Simeone's Atleti is Getafe's bogey team though, 27 games, 22 losses, and 5 draws. Yet the team with the lowest allowed expenditure in the league is doing something special this season, punching above their weight. This is the area of the pitch where Getafe like to play the most. An area of about 30 meters deep that stops the opposition's creative players playing through them. There's not much space behind to defend, but it also opens up spaces in the opposition for rapid counter-attacks. Key to coach Jose Bordalas' principles is an organised and aggressive 4-4-2 compact structure that has seen his team concede only 17 goals so far this season. Oh, and they have also only scored 17, which tells us something about his attacking principles. Anyway, scoring goals from open play is a bit of a rarity, having only managed 7. Having said that, they don't sit back on their penalty box, as you might think, as Bordalás wants his team to defend as far away from the box as possible. And with the least amount of action in their third, this mid-block is doing something very well. Bordalás wants his team to attack and control the pitch, so to do that, his team form a well-constructed 4-4-2 mid-block where they work as a unit, moving around the pitch, preventing passes through the centre. Intent on squeezing the spaces, Getafe's well-drilled pressing structure sees the central midfield press the defender with the ball, forcing him to play the ball to the flank. This is then the trigger for the winger and the fullback to press up aggressively to win the ball, knowing that any possession won here would see Getafe with some space to attack in the channels, and this is where they have caused some high-profile teams some problems. Their man-orientated press is designed to force the opposition into playing the ball long, where Getafe will look to win the aerial battles. Having the highest rate of aerials won in the league means that this is a pretty sure thing, and that's exactly what happens here against Real Sociedad. Look how the team press in the opposition's third. Getafe are pressing player to player, and as soon as the ball is played, they press, leaving the keeper with no choice but to play a long pass. The fullback is carefully tracked by the winger, winning the aerial duel, leading to Getafe attack. When the ball is played by the keeper to the fullback, Uchi signals to the winger that this is your man, as Uchi doesn't want to allow Sociedad to build from the back. If the opposition are able to restart quickly and build in a 2-1-4-3 shape and try to overload Getafe's defense, then the solution is to drop one of the strikers onto the pivot and a winger takes up a position, forming a back 5. It is then the role of the sole striker to cut off passing lanes with curved runs between defenders. As we can see here, Getafe have focused on defending the ball side, whereas the zonal or hybrid pressing structure, this player might make a curved run, cutting off return pass, while a teammate jumps onto the spare player. However, Bordalás' players stick to their player-orientated defensive instructions. Against teams that keep players deep in their build-up, this will see Getafe press in a 4-2-4, with the wingers pressing the fullback each time he gets the ball, while the strikers protect against central passes into a pivot. You won't be surprised to know that Getafe have the highest percentage of launch kicks by the keeper, and this goes along with Bordalás' principles of keeping the ball away from the goal. For the other 32%, the fullbacks push up slightly, and this allows the wingers into the opposition's third. The two centre midfielders stagger, but remain close enough to the centre-backs to provide cover, so that the centre-back can bring the ball into midfield. Getafe will work the ball over to one side of the pitch, with the aim of encouraging them to press, so that spaces on the opposite side are created. From here, Getafe favour long diagonal switches of play to either the fullback or winger. This will sometimes see the other player moving into the inside channel to get a knockdown or a rebound, which can be seen here in their game against Espanyol. Although the back six are quite rigid in their movement, adopting a safety-first approach, the front four can be very fluid in rotating positions and building combinations, and we can see that from the heat map that the two strikers often drift into the wide channels to create overloads. In sustained periods of possession, Getafe attack the channels with only 26% of attacks going through the centre. The fullbacks overlap while the winger moves into the box to become a target. The team look to get the ball into dangerous areas as quickly as possible in the form of crosses. Instead of recycling possession back towards their goal and reorganizing their shape. This can be seen in their goal scored against Barcelona. There are plenty of Barcelona shirts defending, so Getafe could go back towards their goal and rebuild, but instead the ball is fired back into Barcelona's box. This is the signal to swamp the box, and after a rebound off the keeper, Getafe equalise, a chance which could have otherwise been missed. The advantage for Getafe in doing this is that quick attacks are more likely to lead to fouls, because the opposition is reorganising. Getafe have the highest amount of shots from dead ball situations, contributing to 9 of their 17 goals this season. Playing with more of a 4-2-4 when attacking, the front four spread out across the opposition's back line as the fullback advances into space. He quickly switches the ball to the opposite flank, and this allows enough time for the strikers, winger and centre midfielder to flood the box looking for a cross. Although 4-4-2 is the go-to formation for Getafe, there is some flexibility, as you may have noticed. Against teams that like to have ball possession, Jose Bordalas opts for a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1 shape, as this will allow the attacking midfielder to cover the pivot, which is usually the opposition's way of controlling the game. The other two midfielders work on marking players that come into their zone behind the pivot. Defensive midfielder Luis Milla is a key player for Getafe, who is top for the most passes, pass completion and key passes per game. Operating alongside Arambari, Milla is the heartbeat of the team in the centre of midfield. Milla is the one to take up a deeper position of the two. He then sprays the ball into wide channels, but instead of remaining deep, he pushes forward covering underneath Arambari, as Getafe look to crowd the box. Here Luis Milla runs between the centre-back and full-back as he sees an opportunity to create an overload on the Barcelona back four. This late run causes the Barca back four to separate and Getafe pick up the ball between the lines. For a team that play the ball in the air a lot, it's important to have a physical presence up front, and Uche, who wears the number 6 but plays primarily as a striker in the front two, is that presence, and is another of Getafe's key players. Having the most dribbles and the most fouls against him, he is the danger man for Getafe. Although only registering 2 goals this season, the 190cm player offers a physical threat in the box, as well as when he drifts into wide areas to combine with a winger and attack the fullback. Thank you for watching, and if you like this, please consider checking out some more videos.